Hey there everybody, what's going on? This is TwoHeadedFlounder. I'm a little sick. I apologize. I'm going to try and get through this as best as I can. Haven't had a lot of time to make videos because of being sick and work, so hopefully this doesn't sound too bad. And this one is kind of a meme deck. So, this person right here requested that I make a Raichu-gx video. And at first, I completely forgot that Magnezone was a card. So this is kind of the weird deck that I made. We're going to have another Raichu-gx video after this one. But this was my original concept. So, we're playing 3 copies of Raichu-gx. What does Raichu-gx do? Well, if it would focus, that'd be nice. Has the powerful spark attack, does 20 plus 20 more for each lightning energy attached to your Pokemon. So essentially this is Darkrai, Primarina, Raichu. It has Thunder, does 160 damage, but you do 30 to yourself. It's not that bad. It definitely is a lot of solid damage to get behind, so that's not bad at all. And we have Voltail GX for 120, same thing as Lapras GX's GX attack. Does damage, and then it leaves your opponent's active paralyzed, which is a fantastic attack, obviously. So you can definitely guarantee something out of that. But 210 HP, 1 retreat, has a weakness to fighting, which has pretty much been the death sentence for this card, and a resistance to metal. So moving on to the next format, the resistance to metal might be good, and a weakness to fighting might actually not be too bad. Depends on if Buzzwole is still playable or not. It's yet to be seen. I have a feeling that Buzzwole will still be a deck because sniping is really good. But, yeah. So, definitely why this card has not seen a whole lot of play. I mean, there was a lot of cool things going for it. It had the Snuggly generator with Nuzzle and everything like that. But, unfortunately, we're losing the Nuzzle Pikachu. So we're going to be running 3 copies of this Pikachu. If you want a 4th, feel free to take something out and go for it, but I'm only running 3. So Thunder Wave, flip a coin if your heads, your opponent's active is now paralyzed, and then 3 for 50 just is not bad overall. With a choice band that could hit for 80, and for a Pikachu that's pretty solid damage. So that's what we're running there. So let me just go ahead and put these over there. Get into the rest of the deck. So we got 2 copies of Lele because of course we need Lele. It's the best GX in the game. We need to get those supporters. Turn 1 supporters are very important, and making sure you have one is also very important. Backup attacker as well. And we are running a copy of Fan Club in the deck, so maybe getting that first turn Fan Club is very important. Alright, so next up, so this is going to get into weird territory already. We're playing a 2 line of Golisopod. So, when I was thinking of what Raichu-gx is going to be weak to in the post-rotation, I was thinking, well, it's weak to Lycanroc, for sure, and people are always going to play Lycanroc because it's very solid, but it's also weak to Buzzwole. I could put a Deoxys in here to deal with Buzzwole, but I thought Golisopod is a pretty good middle ground. For a single grass energy, we can go ahead and use First Impression, and if it becomes the active, we'll do 120, which is 240, to a Lycanroc GX, which is a guaranteed knockout, and I think that's pretty good. And unless a Buzzwole has 3 energy, a Diancie, Prism on the bench, and a Choice Band, they're not going to be able to one-shot Golisopod. So, I thought it was a nice middle ground. We could do some serious damage for 1 energy, and then retreat it, and then bring up Raichu to get the remaining KO, or maybe set up another Golisopod, but I thought it would be a cool inclusion here. And why we are running the Golisopod is, well, because I could not remember that Magnezone was a card. I'm talking about this Magnezone right here. I had a line of Vikavolt. Now I've increased the line here because I did realize that Vikavolt is pretty much very important for the deck to function, so we have a 3-3 line here. So yeah, this obviously made me think, oh, what's some good grass attackers? I had Bulu in the deck originally, decided against it, but Vikavolt seems pretty solid, and I like it. So anybody that doesn't know what Vikavolt does, has strong charge. Once during your turn, you may search your deck for a grass and a lightning energy. Attach them to your Pokemon any way you like. So every turn we get to thin out our deck, grab energies, power up Raichu-gx's attack, but also we can grab grass energy and put it on Golisopod. So there is that. 3 retreat cost is pretty hefty, but it can pay for its own retreat with its ability. And Electro Cannon is a pretty solid attack if we need a backup attacker. And lastly, for Pokemon, we have a copy of Oranguru. I decided not to, of course, play Zoroark in this deck. I would have had to run a 2-2 line at the very least, because, yeah. But the whole deck is pretty weak to fighting already. And I know Oranguru is also weak to fighting, but I just felt like Instruct was a better way to go. Plus Psychic's an okay attack. It's okay. So we have Oranguru in here. So moving on to supporters. We got 4 copies of Cynthia. I say this every time. Cynthia is our best draw support. So of course we're going to be maxed out on all those. We're going to be playing 3 copies of Guzma because there's no room for a 4th, but 3 is acceptable regardless. This is definitely going to help us out with Golisopod, for sure, and Vikavolt, so that's another great thing about it. But, of course, being able to pull up something and knock it out is always great. We have 2 copies of Tate and Liza. Golisopod has a pretty hefty retreat cost, and so does Vikavolt. So, to avoid removing energy, we're going to use Tate and Liza and hopefully leave energy in play, because it's very vital for Raichu-gx. Our 1 copy of Pokemon Fan Club. Yes, because searching 2 basics, first turn seems like it'd probably be really solid in this deck at the very least. You want to get those Vikavolts in play. A copy of Acerola, because Golisopod could get stuck in the active. Vikavolt could get stuck in the active. Anything could get stuck in the active. As long as it has damage on it, we can remove it, and send Golisopod up and do some damage. But also, it would stop us from getting knocked out with Raichu, and we get to keep our energy, so we could reattach the energy, put Pikachu down, evolve the next turn. And last but not least, for all our supporters, we got a copy of Copycat. Just because we need a little bit more draw support in the deck, not really having too much. But there's not really room for too much because this is a gimmicky deck. So, Copycat. Alright, so next up, 4 copies of Ultra Ball, because of course we're playing 4 copies of Ultra Ball. Are you crazy? This is the best card to search Pokemon. So this is where it gets even more gimmicky. We got 4 copies of Rainbow Brush. Search your deck for a basic energy card and swap it with an energy card attached to one of your Pokemon in play. So, what this effectively is we're going to use Vikavolt's ability, get a grass and an electric energy in play. We're going to swap this out, or we're going to swap the grass energy out for an electric energy, and then Raichu can do more damage. But also, if we attach a electric energy to a Wimpod, we can always swap it out for a grass energy, vice versa. So I thought this was pretty cool. This is like the first thing that came to my mind when I was working with Vikavolt. I was like, oh hey, I could definitely run a grass guy and not have the negative effects of having grass energy in play while Raichu's attacking. So I went with this and I thought it was pretty cool. So there is that. Also, it's a great way to, every turn, grab a grass energy with Vikavolt's ability. So, essentially, you're turning it into grabbing 2 electric energies every turn, and that way you can keep reusing Vikavolt's ability to the best of its ability. We got 3 copies of Rare Candy. That is also another reason why we're running a 3-3 line of Vikavolt. You could definitely drop it from a 3-3 to a 3-2 and have 3 Rare Candy and still be fine, probably. I'd have to assume, but it seems like it'd be okay amount to have for a heavy line such as ours. We have 2 copies of Wishful Baton. So Wishful Baton is one of those cards that is good in certain decks, and it's definitely good in this one. I don't know what happened to my real copies of Wishful Baton. I'm still searching for them, but I'm going to have to go buy some new ones. So we got some proxies here. If the Pokemon that this is attached to is your active and is knocked out by damage from an opponent's attack, you get to move up to 3 basic energy cards from this Pokemon to one of your bench Pokemon. So of course, this is a great way to allow Raichu to keep all the energy in play after it gets knocked out. But another thing here is super solid. If you have only 2 energy attached to the active Raichu, move them to a Golisopod. Golisopod can then use its second attack. It can use its GX attack, things like that. Definitely very useful because the rest of that attack is double colorless, so I think that's pretty nice. It's also a great way to like accelerate energy onto Oranguru if you want to use like a non-GX attacker for the turn. Next up, we have 2 copies of Escape Board. So I'm not entirely sure yet how relevant special conditions are going to be in the next format, but there's not a whole lot of good free retreat cards anymore with the loss of Floatstone. So we have Escape Board. The retreat cost of the Pokemon this is attached to is 1 colorless less. And it can retreat even if it's asleep or paralyzed. So that's a great additional effect. This is mainly for Raichu. You can use it on some of the other things like Lele if you don't want to dedicate energy to retreat it. It can lessen the retreat cost of your other guys, but mainly for Pikachu, Raichu getting on the active spot while retaining their energy. I know that you want to have Wishful Baton on Raichu, so it's a little weird, but it's definitely going to help get like Golisopod plays as well. So free retreat with Raichu with a Golisopod, I think that is definitely very useful. So on to our one-off item cards. We have a copy of Palpad because I put a copy of Palpad in just about anything because I like it. It gets me extra Guzmas and Cynthias. Why wouldn't I play it? So a copy of Palpad. We have an Energy Recycler. Shuffle 5 basic energy cards from your discard pile into your deck. Very important for getting our energy back, and the fact that it goes back into the deck is great for Vikavolt's ability. So there's that. And lastly, we have a copy of Rescue Stretcher. Put Pokemon from your discard pile into your hand, or shuffle 3 Pokemon from your discard pile into your deck. Obviously very versatile, very useful. Getting reuse out of Vikavolt or Oranguru, Lele's, or Raichu, or even Golisopod is something that we're going to definitely want. So, and onto our energy lineup. So we are playing a whopping 9 electric energy. I know we should play more, but Vikavolt's ability is just not good enough. Can't laugh right now, I'm sick. So 9 copies of Electric Energy because, of course, Raichu needs it to power himself up, and Vikavolt's ability as well, all this other stuff, so there's that. And then 2 lonely copies of Grass Energy because Vikavolt's ability calls for Grass Energy, so we're playing Grass Energy. Also, I thought this was a good middle ground. So again, just want to reiterate, we use Vikavolt's ability, we grab this, attach to our Pokemon any way we like. Maybe Raichu's in the active, and we attach them both to the active, but then we, of course, need the extra damage, so we use Rainbow Brush, swap the grass out for an electric energy, and essentially in return we're grabbing 2 electric energy from our deck. So that's the idea here. I'm not sure how well in practice it will turn out, but this is the meme deck I created. We're going to have the super serious, hardcore one next. The next one's going to contain Magnezone, with Magnetic Circuit, and then of course Tapu Koko's, Max Potions, things like that. It's going to be very, very hardcore, but I want to say a few texts you can put into this deck that could definitely be useful. Copy of Enhanced Hammer or 2. Zoroark is definitely going to have a harder time in the next format retrieving special energy, so Enhanced Hammer is a great way to slow them down. field blower, because of course we don't have a field blower in the deck, and it's always a good card to have. And maybe weakness policy for just Raichu in general. The majority of the deck is weak to fighting, so having a weakness policy might not be that bad of an idea. But with all that being said, thank you guys all so much for watching. I hope you did enjoy. If you did, feel free to leave a like, comment, or subscribe. Stick around for more. Again, next video is going to be the super serious version of this deck, or a Raichu deck in general. So I thought this was a cool little fun deck that I made, and thank you guys so much for watching. And until then, I'll see you all next time.